All right, well, welcome in, Coach Muss. Bob, go ahead and get started, please.
Hey, Eric, how you doing?
Good. What's up, Bob?
Hey, I'm in the Jefferson City Fairfield Inn. What a wonderful place. I'm on my way back from Mizzou. Everybody knows Anthony's a great player, but he'd only averaged 6 points in those first 3 games. He really hadn't looked to shoot a lot, kind of struggled a bit with his shooting, from a percentage standpoint. What do you think got him going scoring-wise over there like he did?
Yeah, I think with all, freshmen or transfers that there's always, a little bit of learning curve for how we want to play, for how the defense is playing your particular team. But Anthony's done a great, number one, he's been, he's really gotten in the gym a lot on his own, a lot, shooting. He's digested a lot of film. And I think most importantly, probably, Bob, is Anthony just was really, really aggressive, taking the ball to the basket. And he's shooting the 3 ball of late much better. And then that opens up dribble drives, post ups, and things of that nature.
And then got to ask you, you're watching the games, you see Nick on the bench. He's very animated. So I assume he's feeling better. But what have you thought about his attitude? He's really been, a good cheerleader, I guess, a good teammate. And do you have any update on his status and if he might have a shot to play Monday night against Troy?
Yeah, so Nick has done a great job of late. His repetitions in practice have continued to get better and improve. His activity level in practice continues to grow. So yeah, I think that Monday, he'll be evaluated again. He has not been fully cleared, but he did meet with rehab today. And I think he's meeting with the doctor again on Monday.
And what else has he been able to do in practice? Has he done any team stuff, or is it all individual stuff, or what's he been able to do?
No, he's starting to do some team stuff again. Obviously, today we'll be able to get a little bit more active. And then certainly, tomorrow, we'll be more active than even today. So he's moving, in the right direction for sure. He's taken his rehab extremely serious. He and Matt, the trainer, have spent a ton of time together. So he's getting closer to playing for sure. And like I said, on Monday, we'll just have to see exactly, how he does in the next 2 days of practice.
And yeah, just what do you thought about his attitude? Like I say, being over there on the bench and really being into it, and also how anxious. Obviously, you want to be smart with it and not play him till he's ready. But how anxious do you think he is to play?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that Nick is really, really anxious and eager. His attitude on the bench, his attitude in film, his attitude at halftime, his attitude has been really, really good, really, since he stepped on campus. We knew what a great teammate he was in high school, how well liked he was by his teammates. Everybody here understands that, when he's not playing, how badly he wants the team to win.
I got a couple more questions, but I'll turn it back to Mike. Thanks, Eric.
Curtis?
Hey, Coach, we've talked so much about the youth and the newness of this team. And then, you're a couple weeks into the season, you find yourself at the Maui Invitational and, just some dogfights against a couple of really good teams. How do you feel like this group responded and handled those moments? And do you feel like they maybe grew up a little bit?
I think so. The Maui tournament, historically is a premier tournament, unbelievable teams in that tournament. I was really, sometimes even when you lose, there's great learning lessons. Creighton, San Diego State, both teams really well coached. I thought both teams, really understood their roles really well this early in the season. So certainly, huge challenge for us. And I thought our young team grew up, over those 3 games. And I think, as we get into conference play, those games we'll be able to reflect back on and use them as learning lessons.
And you kind of touched on it, but that is such a unique environment. It's high intensity over there. And then obviously you had the travel as well. How do you kind of come down from the high of something like that and get recalibrated for this game coming up on Monday against a Troy team that's off to a pretty good start?
Yeah, I think that's, having talked to other people that have played in Maui, I think that's one of the concerns is coming back and playing your first game. And to my knowledge, I think we have the earliest game being on a Monday. I know some other teams play on Tuesday and another team plays on Thursday as their first game back. So again, I think we have for sure as short of turnaround as anybody. So that is of concern. I know that sleep patterns are a little bit, messed up right now for all of us. But hopefully, by tomorrow night, we'll be a little bit more adjusted time frame wise. And Troy is a really well coached team. They have really good toughness. They play extremely hard. They're a high steel team. You mentioned the great start that they're off to. They pound the offensive glass. They jump passing lanes. They again shoot a high volume of 3. So they're good in transition. So there's a lot of things that we have to cover in a very short time frame.
Scotty?
Yeah, Eric, I'm just curious what your kind of overarching takeaways, observations were from the trip, and just what do you think you learned about the team that you got?
Well, we had a lot of guys step up at different times of games, and I think we, to play in such close games, I think that really helps you down the road. I think, we got to see contrasting styles of play. So I think there was a tremendous amount of benefit from our end.
What did you think about Trevin over the trip? Because first game's pretty frustrating, got in foul trouble. The second halves of those last 2 games, he seemed like he really came alive. What made the switch flip for him?
I think he's just a guy that, kind of like a baseball hitter. You give him enough swings and he's going to figure out a way, if he's really good, to get on the base path or to hit RBIs or whatever you might want to say. And with TB, his 3-point shooting really changes the complexion of who we are. And then he had some really good, really phenomenal dribble drives to the rim as well. And then obviously defensively his length. And again, we've stated before that he's a starter, but we're bringing him off the bench. And I love him in that role because he can change the complexion of the game, whether it be in the 17-minute mark of the first half or the 19-minute mark of the second half. At some point, he seemed to come in and give us a great jolt when he enters the game.
Christina?
Coach, can you hear me okay?
Yes. Can hear
Okay,
you,
cool. I'm in
Christina.
public and on headphones, so I just want to be sure. So we didn't see Kamani in the first couple of games, and then obviously came in a big role in that third game. Just what made you decide to turn to him when you did?
Well, when we met as a staff, 3 games in 3 days, you always want somebody, to be able to come and have an impact in the game, maybe that has fresh legs. And the thing that maybe people have not talked about with Kamani in that third game against SDSU was he played phenomenal help defense. He was kind of always in the right spot defensively. And then obviously his putback and his 2 free throws show the mental toughness that he has to be able to sit for so long and then come in and contribute. But he was, we talked about Nick. Bob and I had talked about Nick's, energy on the bench, and Kamani's been great on the bench as well. He throughout the course of the season. So really, really happy for Kamani that he was able to come in, and we don't win that game unless somebody maybe that hasn't played much in games 1 and 2 were able to come in and have an impact.
Bob, you got a follow-up?
Yeah, Eric, I was reading up on Troy. I mean, they're 6-1. I think they have 7 guys averaging between like 14 and 9 points, so pretty good balance. And Duke Miles, looks like they're leading scorer, and they're averaging 9 made threes and shooting about 37%, and they're set almost +8 on turnover margins. What do you think of maybe if you go over their personnel a little bit and just their strengths that concern you?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the backcourt of number 3 Miles and obviously number 2 Mohammed, is an excellent player. Both those guys play the guard, and 0 punter, is a really good 3-point shooter. 3 Eugene can make threes. Phillips at the small forward spots, another guy that can make threes, and Turner, Fields, those guys that are kind of swing guys at the 3-4 spot can make open shots. And then, their centers do a really good job of pounding the offensive glass and rim running. So they present a lot of problems. They played excellent in Tallahassee against Florida State, and Montana's not an easy place to win at. And they beat Montana at their place. So, like I said, really gritty, tough team that plays really, really hard and creates turnovers. And then anytime you face a team that can make threes and has good game off the bounce and can dribble drive as well, you've got to make some decisions from a defensive scheme standpoint.
And then Ricky, he starts off over 7 the other night. We knew he played 40 minutes. You're thinking, man, he doesn't have any legs. And then he, I guess, got a second win or something, and then he really played strong. What you think of what he did? And he played 81 minutes back-to-back nights,
Ricky was great. I mean, there was a point where I was thinking of taking him out, and, I think he felt like he had a second wind in him. And, his performance, we put him in some pick and rolls that we just didn't really envision doing that, Bob. We thought he was going to be more of a wing scorer, transition scorer, isolation player, but he has done a really, really good job in pick and roll, both as a scorer and as a ball handler. Thought he did a really good job. I think one of the games he had 4 assists. So he's also been able to find open teammates as well.
And I've had so many people ask me, who got the technical against Creighton? And I said, well, I wasn't there. I don't know. Can you reveal who got the technical? Did they ever tell you, or do you know?
I mean, it was someone on our bench. They didn't, I don't know if it was identified in the heat of the moment of who it was. It wasn't me, but I don't know if it was an assistant coach or a player. They kind of pointed in a direction, and we just tried to refocus on the game at that point. Yeah.
Okay. I'll take that as a non-denial. And then that post game, I mean, I know there's probably no love lost between you guys and because you were at Nevada and played them, and you're at University of San Diego and they're San Diego State, and they really want to knock off the big boys in the SEC and all that. But that post game, I mean, just what was your, I guess in retrospect, looking back, how crazy was that? And you've ever been involved in something like that? And was it kind of scary? Because that one dude, he had a towel or something on his neck. I mean, man, he looked crazy. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I mean, I think that, we just want to talk about Troy today, and Hunter and I have been in discussions, and so, again, I just think we want to focus on Troy. San Diego State's an incredibly well-coached team, and they're going to have a great year. I mean, I think that's a team that's a team that can go really, really far in the NCAA tournament. And they're a team that defends and is physical, and we're a team that tries to defend. And again, right now we're just trying to figure out in a short turnaround how we can prep for Troy.
And one last thing on Nick, I guess, would it be accurate to say he's maybe been upgraded from doubtful to questionable, or would you call him probable, or what would be your?
I mean, I was, before I met with you guys, I was in a staff meeting, Bob, so I have not gotten a chance to talk to Matt. And I don't know if basketball wise, we've used those phrases since I've come here, but I do think that, you know, we have practice today, we have practice tomorrow. You know, when you play 3 games in 3 nights, you know, you're not going to have any physical contact in practice. So this will be, you know, 48 hours for him to be able to continue to test and see what his comfort level is, and the doctor's comfort level and the trainer.
Yeah, you personally, it's like having this Ferrari in your garage and you want to take it out and drive it around. I mean, how anxious are you to see him play and get his contributions, obviously?
Yeah. I mean, I just feel for Nick, because he works so hard in the summer, and he's, you know, he's had to watch games that are big games. And, you know, I know he's really anxious to play. And I think with any of your student athletes, you always want, you know, those student athletes to, you know, to be able to do what they work for, which is get out and play in front of fans and play in front of a national audience. So hopefully, you know, that time frame for him coming back will happen really soon for him and for our team.